Hey guys, good morning. It's hard to believe, but for the seniors, the time is growing short. And I gave a lot of thought as to a way that I might allow you guys to have a little bit more contact to one another, with one another, and fellowship with one another in the time that we have remaining. So I thought, well, let's set aside bacon mugs and my YouTube nonsense for a little bit and give those introductions to you. So here's what I would like to propose. And I'm going to give you some details over here in a minute, but for today's intro, I want to describe how for the next week, I'm opening those intros up to the seniors. So I'm giving you guys the opportunity to take over that spot. Now be aware that even though you have 2 days technically where you don't have school next week, we're still going to allow you to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to produce intros for those days if you see fit. So today is Thursday. So that means between tomorrow, Friday, and next week, we have 6 possible spots for these. So let me explain some details of what I'm envisioning. Past this point, your creativity reigns. Number 1, seniors only. Okay, this is open only to seniors. We can look at the possibility for the rest of it later, but this is open only to seniors. Number 2, 2 minutes maximum. Okay, obviously, we try to keep these things short so that they don't overtake the video. It may contain 1 or more participants, as long as you're maintaining proper distance from one another. I know some of you might necessarily come up with an idea that allows you to cut back and forth. However, all of those participants need to be seniors. Remember that any characters, themes, or tone of the piece, even though we know there are obviously some differences in the way that you're learning at home, need to be school appropriate and fit both the charism and the rules laid out in the school handbook. All of those videos will be viewed, reflected on, and chosen by me. However, be aware that I do reserve the right to share those videos with anyone else on the faculty. That does also mean the administration. It does mean that thinking through what your video might be about, what your intro might be about before you share it is probably a good idea. Now, you can begin as early as tomorrow, which is Friday, April 24th. Now that does mean that if you have an idea that you want to do, it needs to get to me quick. You need to really think of it as the day before. As long as I get the video the morning before, that gives me enough time to view what we have and make a selection. But if you have an idea for tomorrow, you've got to get it to me before tonight so that I can edit it in to everything else that's going on. So remember, that's going to give us 6 total days of possibility. That's tomorrow, April 24th, and then the following days next week. Now remember that even though Wednesday and Friday seniors, you don't have class, Wednesday I will just put the intro part of the video up for your enjoyment, and Friday my other students have class, so there will still be an intro there as well. You'll also get the usual weekly overview from me on a Monday to let you know what it is that you're going to be doing. So, seniors, this is your chance to get a little creative and make something for the rest of your classmates to enjoy. Be aware, juniors and freshmen will also be seeing these videos as well. I want to wish you the best of luck. It can have anything to do with the theme that I've established, or it could be completely new, as long as it meets the rules that we've already discussed. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Hopefully, along with a bunch of other people as well. Have a great day.
Good morning, guys. So, the first thing that I want to tell everyone is that today's work is going to be relatively short. We're just going to be finishing off the rest of the idea on multiplying radicals. And the reason for this is because since tomorrow is Friday, and dividing is something that we should really take on by itself because it does have a couple of extra steps, I want to pump the brakes on this just a little bit. So by Friday, we'll be done with the entire section of the unit. That's multiplying and dividing. So we're going to keep things relatively simple today and add on just a little bit, but you're going to see in today's homework that it's the breadth of multiplying. So it's not only going to be what we worked on today, but it's also going to be what we've worked on previous to this point. So I really just have 2 examples, which is now what do we do when we have to FOIL or distribute something through? And the deal is we basically just use the same rules that we always would. only we now just have to pay attention to the radicals and whether we can break them down in some way, whether we have a square or a cube that we can break down. So let's start by taking a look at this first one. We have the square root of 3x outside the parentheses, and then inside the parentheses, this binomial, square root of x minus 5 times the square root of 3. And if none of these root signs were here, and your instinct were to just distribute it through, you'd be right. And so we're going to do the exact same thing in this case. So let's distribute this square root of 3x through. So what does that give us? Square root of 3x times square root of x, remember just keep the radical and multiply everything inside, is going to give us the square root of 3x squared. So already if you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to be able to do something with that x squared, you're right. Let's keep going. All right? So we distribute it through this part. Root 3x minus 5 times root 3. Well, there's nothing to multiply the coefficient by, or the constant, depending on how you want to look at it. So that's going to be 5. We multiply the radicals, because remember, we multiply like parts. And that's going to give us the square root of 9x. And if you're thinking to yourself, oop, that square root of 9 is going to turn into something, you'd be right about that too. Now remember, we can break this up into its factors, so we can work with it separately. We can think about this as root 3 times the root of x squared. And we can think about this as 5 times the square root of 9 times the square root of x. Remember, we can break out all of its parts. So hopefully you're thinking right now, nothing I can do with this root 3, and you'd be right. Nothing I can do with this root x, and you'd also be right. But I can take the square root of x squared. So let's do that. That's just going to be x. Now remember, standard notation is that our radicals always go last, so that's why this turned into something with the root 3 afterwards. And now let's think about what happens here. We know that the square root of 9 is 3. So could we just in our heads do 5 times 3 right now? Sure we could. And that times the square root of x. Now, we take a look at what's left. Can we reduce anything else? Can we simplify anything else? No, we can't do anything with root 3. We can't do anything with root x. So, x times the square root of 3 minus 15 times the square root of x, that's our final answer there. How about this side? Now, some of you are already going to see a trick. If you remember from when we were doing this in last quarter, a minus b times a plus b, we remember that's one of our flowchart rules for factoring. We know that that's going to be a squared minus b squared. We know it's going to be a difference of squares. But let's say you didn't remember that. Well, you know what? Let's prove it. So if it's a squared minus b squared, that would be root 5 times root 5. That's 5. 7 times 7 is 49. And 5 minus 49 is negative 44. So if the rule holds, our answer should be negative 44 here. But let's say you didn't remember the trick. Let's say you had to FOIL the whole thing out. Well, let's do that. First, root 5 times root 5 is 5. Positive 7 times square root of 5 is 7 times square root of 5. Negative 7 times square root of 5 is negative 7 square root of 5. And then negative 7 times positive 7 is 49. These two things in the middle cancel out, and we're left with 5 minus 49, which gives us an answer of negative 44. So again, not really complicated today. We just want to talk about how we use these multiplication skills in kind of new ways. Be aware that the homework today is going to cover the breadth of multiplication so that tomorrow we can focus on division, because there is going to be one little wrinkle in what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Plan again on a quiz Tuesday of next week covering this material, and then a test at the end of the week. So I want to wish you for today the best of luck. I will see you in live conferences if you get the opportunity to be there, and I look forward to seeing you then. Okay, bye.